Pastor Misty Howick. I'm an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church, and I serve the congregation of New Song United Methodist Church in Surprise, Arizona. Surprise! Today is a wonderful Monday. I'm watching a thunderstorm about 10 miles off. It's nice to see it kind of floating by. You can see the palm trees in the reflection of the window. That's where I am. This is a nice Monday off for me and my family. It's spring break, so that's really fun. But we're here, and we're going to be reading chapter 23 of Proverbs. We're continuing to look at the book of Proverbs throughout the Lent, and Lent is quickly coming to an end. So we're on chapter 23, and it has 31 verses. So we will be finishing that up next week. So here it is, Monday, chapter 23. So just a reminder that we ended on the Egyptian collection of wisdom from Amenemope, and Amenemope, excuse me, which is really hard to say. And if you watched last week's the last chapter, chapter 22, you saw how much trouble I was having saying it at the end. So this is kind of a continuation of that wisdom. It honestly is from the wisdom sayings of a person named Amenemope, and they have to do with the rules for being in court and what you should do when you're around like the rulers or things like that. So that continues here. When you sit down to eat with an official, observe carefully what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you have a big appetite. Do not desire an official's delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Be wise enough to desist. When your eyes light upon it, it is gone, for suddenly it takes wings to itself, flying like an eagle toward heaven. Do not eat the bread of the stingy, and do not desire their delicacies, for like hair in the throat, so are they. Eat and drink, they say to you, but they do not mean it. You will vomit up the little you have eaten, and you will waste your pleasant words. Do not speak in the hearing of a fool who will only despise the wisdom of your words. Do not remove an ancient landmark or encroach on the fields of orphans, for their vindicator is strong. He will plead their cause against you. Okay, so that's the end of collection 3, section A. We have a couple more verses here in our chapter, but it begins this collection B. So just a couple of notes, and again, I'm getting my notes from the Jewish Study Bible, so that's where I'm getting my information from on the context of these things. The beginning verses, when you sit down to eat with an official, observe carefully what is before you. In the Jewish Study Bible, it mentioned that the higher officials will give you more or less to eat on how well they considered you. So if they considered you a close friend or someone worthy, they would give you more. And if they gave you less, that's kind of what they thought of you. So pay attention to that. And you shouldn't, eat a lot in front of these other rulers. Love that thunder. Because it could injure your either your standing in the court if you were like eating a whole bunch at a feast of a ruler and weren't given all of the food. So that's why it says put a knife to your throat if you have a big appetite. Do whatever you can to not overeat, I guess. It's interesting, these parts of the rulers, like the rules that you would pay attention to when you're with rulers or anyone who's of higher standing than you, higher class than you. So that's the notes from that section. So let's go ahead and move on to the section B of collection 3, which starts with verse 12. Apply your mind to instruction and your ear to words of knowledge. Do not withhold discipline from your children. If you beat them with a rod, they will not die. If you beat them with the rod, you will save their lives from Sheol. My child, if your heart is wise, my heart also will be glad. My soul will rejoice when your lips speak what is right. Do not let your heart envy sinners, but always continue in the fear of the Lord. Surely there is a future, and your hope will not be cut off. Hear, my child, and be wise, and direct your mind in the way. Do not be among wine bibbers or among gluttonous eaters of meat. For the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty, and drowsiness will clothe them with rags. Listen to your father who begot you, and do not despise your mother when she is old. Buy truth and do not sell it. Buy wisdom, instruction, and understanding. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice. He who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. Let your father and mother be glad. Let her who bore you rejoice. My child, give me your heart, and let your eyes observe my ways. For a prostitute is a deep pit, and adulteress a narrow well. She lies in wait like a robber, and increases the number of the faithless. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaining? Who has wounds without cause? Who has the redness of eyes? Those who linger late over wine, those who keep trying mixed wines. Do not look at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. At the last it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things, and your mind utter perverse things. You will be like the one who lies down in the midst of the sea, like one who lies on top of a mast. They struck me, you will say, but I was not hurt. They beat me, but I did not feel it. When shall I wake? I will seek another drink. So, an interesting compilation of wisdom sayings in this second part of collection 3. The first part is all about is a wisdom sayings to a son from a father. Again, we've seen that again in Proverbs. So it talks about wise children and foolish children. It talks about in here again, and we've seen this in other chapters as well, not withholding discipline from your children. The thought is that if you could save them from their bad decisions, ones that would lead them to death, even by hitting them, then you should do that. In my mind, I kind of see that as perhaps some of the wisdom that we get in the New Testament when Jesus says, if you have a body part that is sinning, then please, cut it off, I guess, so that you won't sin anymore. It wasn't, I believe, literally that he was saying that, but metaphorically, like it's better for you to get rid of that part of your life that causes you to sin than to continue sinning. So I'm wondering if this is in the same thought of wisdom, obviously taking part in two different time periods, but I wonder if this one leads to that. It's better to have some tough love with our children now if it means that they won't end up hurting themselves in the future. Now, I know with the psychology of today, we know what damage beating our children does, and so corporal punishment is not something I'm advocating, nor do I believe that is the wisdom we can take here, except for, there are some hard lessons in life that our children will have to face, and we can't protect them from all of it. So that's kind of where I'm taking that. So other notes in here, there's some conversation about prostitutes, and there is actually a pun in here, as our Jewish study Bible says, that for a prostitute is a deep pit, and an adulteress is a narrow well. So yes, that is referring to their body parts there. And in earlier parts, I believe it said a good wife is like a good well. And so again, we're talking body parts there. So it's supposed to be a pun. And then this last part of the section is very interesting. It actually is referring to sailors, like be wary of sailors or becoming a sailor, because they drink a lot and they could harm themselves by drinking a lot and then getting hurt on the ship. So it says a lot about people on ships and how much they drink and what their lifestyle was like. And that's what the last part is, all the way up to verse 35. So what can we take from all of this today? I shared a little bit with you about the children. I would say for this last part, be aware of drinking too much, and don't be in the camp of people who drink recreationally a lot. So that's just I think that's the warning that we can take with that. I don't think it actually has to do with be wary of sailors or becoming a sailor. So, all right, well, very interesting in here. Thank you again for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for your comments. And I hope that you're enjoying this book of Proverbs. It is very interesting. It's very different from any of the other books of the Bible. So continue on, friends. Let's get through this. All right, God bless you.